All right, guys. It was definitely a heavy cleanup day today. All of our piston and rod assemblies are pretty clean. They look nice and fresh. You got a little bit of carbon marking on them. You can actually still see the weights that were written down. I cleaned the rings, the ring lands. It's going to be a little bit tricky installing them because in the process of removing the rings, they did get stretched out a bit, but that's not a big deal. The push rods are all cleaned up. They've been washed and blown through. Even our cap straps have all been cleaned up, bagged. Our main caps have all been cleaned up. The rear one removed any RTV for the rear seals. Our head studs, our main studs are all cleaned up. Timing chain is clean. All of our miscellaneous oil pan bolts, oil pump bolts are cleaned. Our bearings have been cleaned up, and I'm going to polish them up with newspaper. The graphite works really well to just kind of, there's enough grit actually in newspaper, and the graphite also helps to kind of polish the surface up a little bit. And if you guys remember, this is the set where the main bearing had a pit and we ended up going with it. I think you can see it through the bag. That right there. It had some damage from the packaging, and I kind of smoothed it out with a nylon tool that you would use on the interior of a car. And I polished it out with 1200 grit and then newspaper, and all the bearings still look good. So next thing to clean up that is going to be just a little bit more critical is going to be our rocker arms, because that's one specific component that has a lot of things going for it. So we're going to clean these up in the parts washer, and then they will probably end up getting a soak in transmission fluid just to push out anything that could possibly be in there. And we did that in the past with some of the other rocker arms that we've used, as you guys have seen. And then the crank is next also to get cleaned up. I need to get a bag for it, but that's going to go in the parts washer, get cleaned up. I got to go out and buy some 409. Yes, like the house cleaner 409. I'm using a lot of house type cleaners and degreasers, which work good. I mean, this is not a gunky engine, so all these cleaners are work. The 409 I'm going to be using on the block, along with soapy water and brushes. And we got our puke can down here, and we're just going to clean this up and get it ready. So hopefully within the next week or so, we can kind of start putting this bottom end together. I have to clean up the intake. I have to clean up the intake. This one, I got to take the gaskets off, and then I'm going to see if I can get this thing blasted. I got to ask a buddy of mine. And then really, we're kind of on the go. Actually talking with you guys right now, I am wondering where the head studs went. I think those might be, not like my brightest hour, right? So, let's move that. I think those are in here. Yeah, these are head studs. So this is actually the last round of bolts that I probably will be cleaning. And, when you guys use your ARP assembly lube, it kind of gets gooped up in there. My camera doesn't do a good job of catching it, but it gets gooped up in there. So I cleaned up all the threads with a stiff wire brush. And you should be chasing down any and all threads, and I'm going to do that as well. I have my thread chaser kit and a tap and die set. Camshaft's going to get a clean up, dry up, spray with oil, throw it in the bag and back in the box. That's just kind of like what's left. This tiny little carpet brush actually is pretty stiff. It's nylon. It works really good to clean the ring lands, so that's why I hung on to that one. It's an old vacuum attachment for an old vacuum my wife had. We got to clean up the oil pan. I got to take the gaskets off of it. But we got a lot done. And then I got to buy some shim stock. If you guys remember, to get some of the clearances, we used a really old technique We glued shims. This is 1,000 shim stock that we glued onto the mating surface of the main caps to get the bearing clearances right, and that worked out good. I just have to actually order some up, glue it, and cut it, and make it nice and neat so that it will work as it did before, because that is how we got our clearances on the mains. Because if you guys remember, when I was building this engine, somebody didn't do the align hone right, and the bearing clearances were like really, really tight on the mains, and I wanted them to be like somewhere in the range of 3 thou on the mains, plus or minus a little bit. Like, I'm okay with like, you know, 2 thou and like 8/10 or whatever like that, and it's pretty much what it came down to. We didn't want to go anymore, because if you keep adding shim stock, or you can get shim stock in 1, 2, and 3 thou. We just did the 1 thou, and from the looks of it, we ran this engine pretty hard. Obviously, we did hurt one of the rods, and the piston pin walked out, but all of the bearings throughout look great. So, like, you know, even the rod bearings, they're all in place here. They all look good. Everything looks really good still. So, despite having a kind of semi-catastrophic failure that really wasn't catastrophic, we caught it. This engine's good. Now, the one thing I am going to have to do is it really bugs me having this rust in the but I have to run straight water, because any drag strip, they're going to make you run straight water if you got a modified car. And that's just kind of it. But I'm going to do my best to get in here with something to clean up some of this rust, just to kind of get it clean. But, I mean, it's going to rust again. That's just the nature of the beast. We do got cam bearings. The ones in here were the back cut ones. I got a set of Durabonds that are just your standard type bearings, but it'd still be fine. If I can find a set of back grooved ones, I'm going to put the call out there, and if I can find them, I'll use them. But really, we're going to be on the move here, and I think within the next 2 weeks, I talked with my friend today. I'm thinking about picking up my cylinder heads either at the end of the next week or the following week. I got to pony up some cash, because he's helped me out a lot, and I know he needs some funds for his project. So, you know, I do gotta pay every now and again, but that's not an issue. So we got crankshaft to clean, some stuff, and we'll be putting this thing together here pretty soon, and it should come together pretty fast. Obviously, we had this engine together at one point. We have everything nice and organized and laid out, and this is what you want. This is how you want it to be. And like, this setup for me is perfect. I like it. I really can't. I'm actually, the more that I've been cleaning, the more excited I am about getting this thing together. And maybe I'll set up the camera down here and just let it run its course as we build it. But I'll do it in sections, like measuring the main bearing clearances, and then installing the crank, and then doing it in little bits and pieces like that. So I hope maybe that's some way of doing it. And then, if I get this done, maybe I'll put a Turbo 350 together for you guys. I got one sitting out in the garage. I can order a B&M kit, and we'll build one up. I just need access to a lathe, but to cut the pistons down. But build a Turbo 350, maybe stick a better transmission in the Bonneville. The one that's in the Bonneville's been in service for like 8 years, and I know I screwed up the intermediate clutch stack, but it still holds, so I ain't worried about it. But either way, I'll let you guys go. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday. Me and my wife getting ready to go out for dinner. So share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass, and we will see you around hopefully next week. Start put shitting together.